Okay, I quickly wanted to go over how to use our watch list to get the most out of it. And basically what we do in the morning is we'll give everybody a watch list. Now, the reason I went over this today with the premium members is because this month I've had great watch lists, but I've been picking for whatever reason. It's just one of those months where if there's three setups and I pick one of them, I'm picking the one that's wrong. So I want to show everybody how to use the watch list. Now, still up a good amount of the month. I'm up great on this particular week. Had a little got a little hairy in a situation yesterday, but managed to get out of it with the room. I think most people made money on it. So I'm going to go over how to use this watch list, and hopefully it'll give you an idea kind of what we offer and how to use the watch list if you do sign up. So what we do in the morning is we'll go over stocks and levels that we're looking for on each of these stocks. So for example, we were watching Lulu above 63.41, ICPT. This is actually something I did intraday. Let me remove that. This is from the morning. So we were watching Red Hat above 71.78. We were watching 5 above 35.17. We were watching SanDisk below 68.85. All right, and so what we're doing is we're looking for stocks that don't have any resistance to the upside if we're going long, or don't have any support to the downside if we're going short. So I'm going to show you the two setups. Now, SanDisk we played was a little bit of a different setup. That was a VWAP setup, but I'm going to show you a very general way to trade these stocks. And you can use an inside bar or pivot bar. And you want to use the stocks that we go over in the morning on the watch list. So, for example, Red Hat, we're watching long above 71.78. Okay, and I'll tell you if there's resistance and stuff to be aware of, and we kind of go over that in the morning. All right, so if we're looking at Red Hat, there's two ways to trade these. Okay, and just like any strategy, it's not going to work every single time, but if you use this with the watch list that we give you every day, you will make money in the long run. Probably you will make money every week. You may not make money every single day, but you should make money every single week if you're disciplined about using this. So there's two ways to do it. One's to trade an inside bar. Now, all an inside bar is, if you look at the top right of my screen, is a bar that trades inside the prior range, inside the high and the low of the prior bar. So one way to trade this is you're looking for an inside bar, and you want to get long the first bar that makes a new high with a stop at the low of that prior bar. So right here, you've got an inside bar. Now you've got another inside bar. So now we're going to be looking for a long 73.84. Boom. 73.84 goes off. Now your stop on this is going to be 73.19 if you use this prior bar. However, and I actually took a stab on this one, and I missed. This was a miss for me. I put my stop at 73.49. Now, I don't have all the time to go into why to use 73.49 on this scenario versus 73.06. But 73.06 with a 73.84 entry, that's too large of a stop, right? Or 73.19 with a 73.84 entry, that's too large of a stop. Adjust it to 73.49. That's a little more reasonable versus what you can get out of the stock from a risk-reward standpoint. So we're looking at the stock. Get long, we got stopped out. Okay, so here's the second way you can trade it. Now, this could have easily just taken off and went to 76, which is actually where we sold, up near where we sold our last position. So here's how you can enter another way, is on a pivot bar. So you're looking for 5 minutes to make lower high and lower low. So let me expand this chart. So here's a lower high and lower low, right? Here's a lower high and lower low. Here's a low, an inside bar, and then this bar makes a new high. So you can get long on the pivot bar. And you got to be focused on the right stocks. So again, if you're focused on the stocks that we're trading off the watch list and they're above certain levels that we go over, those are the right stocks. All right. So here's your pivot bar. So now you get long 73.44, stop 72.97. So this is your entry, 1 penny above the high of this bar. And then your first target, you can start selling just before the highs or at the highs, depending on how you want to do it. Just before the highs or at the highs. So you could sell right at the highs on the first half, right? And then you're going to be long versus the high. So if you start getting a bar that closes below this prior high, which I have marked with this horizontal line, that's when you would want to get out of the rest, all right? But you can be long versus that high and try to ride it as much as you can using a moving average, however you want to do it. I went over in the video that's posted for the members, so if you sign up, decide to become a member, there's a longer video posted. It's about a half-hour lesson. I go over how to use a trailer on a 5-minute. It's not your typical trailer you're thinking of a points trailer or a percentage trailer. And you could use that as well, or your moving averages, however you decide that you want to do it. Okay? Another way to do it. This 5, or so another setup. So 5, F-I-V-E. Okay? This stock out of the gate comes up, and I'm just going to show you an example of an inside one that worked, since we haven't seen that yet. So we're watching this long. We were watching this long this morning above 35.17. So I'm going to mark 35.17 on my chart. 35.17. Okay, stock rips. It's above 35.17. Now you don't just want to jump in it, right? Boom. Now we get an inside bar right here. This is trading inside this range. So now we've got a setup as this goes to the next bar of 35.57 entry, 35.22 stop. Boom. Stock rips, okay? Now you're going to sell some as soon as you get to the highs or just above the highs, like I said, if it spikes through the horizon. So you're out some 35.80s, and then probably the rest of it you're going to be out on a spike through 36, and you get a rip all the way to 36.36. If for whatever reason you decided to keep 1/3 of it or keep half, you would have had a break-even stop if you didn't get out of this 36.36, and you would have got stopped out of the rest. But again, you can see this is very, very simple strategy to make money. Now I'm going to go over another one. Now I mentioned yesterday, if you sign up, we have all of our watch lists. You can watch the videos of all the watch lists, the prior watch list, and you can watch the one from yesterday. And I mentioned Apollo was one of my favorite setups for a short. All right, so Apollo for a short. So let's look at APOL. And APOL short had a big level that we were watching, and I can't remember the exact level. I want to say it was 23.29. Regardless, I'll just use that for now. It's kind of irrelevant because the entry I'm going to show you is way below where that level was. So 23.29. I said this is probably going to drop right out of the gate. I try not to trade the first 10 minutes of the day, so I'm just sitting on my hands. And if something drops and it never gives me a chance to get back in it, then I'm just not going to get in it. I'm going to miss out on it because I don't want to trade that craziness right out of the gate. You typically end up only making a few cents, and it's a lot more stress than what it's worth for the profit that you get. But let's look at this setup. So we said that we like this short all the way down to 21 and change, and it might have even been 20 eventually after a gap fill on the chart. So we like this short basically all the way down to $20 yesterday. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's look at this chart and let's find the setup on here. And again, not everyone's going to work. So this bar opens, and let's just play it out like it's really happening. Okay, so this bar opens, drop down. All right, so ideally we'd want an inside bar right here that we could get short at a new low. Boom. So this bar takes out that low. So this is not a setup. All right, this is not a setup. This is an inside bar. But look what happens on this inside bar. Takes out the high. So now we're not interested. So, all right, so now we're interested. We have an inside bar right here. So now we're interested on a break of the low. Break of this low. Boom, goes down. Take out the lows, cover some, adjust your stop, and then follow it down. All right, it ends up dropping the entire day. And so this setup's the best for about an hour right out of the gate. The first hour, hour and a half. You get kind of near lunch, you're going to get a lot of false signals, and it's good for stuff that's really, really popping, stuff that's really, really moving. So I'll just give you an example like DPLO. Now, this is not something I traded today, but you're going to get the idea here. Stuff that's moving, right? So you can tell this stock is moving. Look at this volume relative to what it normally trades. Inside bar, boom. Here's your inside bar. This would be your entry. Boom. Gets a rip up. You're going to sell some, blah, blah, blah. All right? Boom. This bar makes a low. Here's a pivot bar, new high. Entry right here. Stock goes up. Now, this is easy to do hindsight, but look how much this worked. So this is the point I'm trying to make, is that you got to focus on stocks that are in play and stocks that are moving. Okay? Now, SanDisk was the stock that I made most of my money on today. That was a completely different setup, something that we go over in our Trade Like Me course. If you're interested in that it was a good setup. That was the VWAP drop, and that's where I made most of my money today. It was 20-1 on our risk reward. But hopefully this gives you a very basic and easy to use strategy off these two setups right here, this pivot setup or this inside setup. You can make money using our watch list. The watch list, we've done everything and made sure there's no support on stuff that we're trying to short, and there's no resistance on stuff that we're trying to go long, and you can make money pretty easily. If you have any questions, you can email me, Kavan@tradewithkavan.com. Good luck, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow in the chat room.